Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 8 of 8 in the series Fundamentals of Developing Computer Program, in which we are going to learn about how to perform user training. My name is Meme JM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. In this presentation, we are going to look at the following. 1. Introduction to user training. 2. Identify user training needs. 3. Methods for program user training. 4. Factors to consider when choosing a training method. 5. User training procedure. 6. End user training checklist. 7. User training manuals. 8. Writing user training manual. 9. Practices for successful end user training. So let's begin by looking at the introduction to user training. End user training is bringing users up to speed with how to use a platform, tool, or a system. This application training aims to equip users with the necessary skills and knowledge to navigate the system, utilize its features to their full potential, and solve common issues they might encounter. The ultimate goal of end-user training is to ensure that individuals are competent and confident in using the technology contextually to their role and tasks, thereby maximizing its adaptation or its adoption and optimizing the investment by enhancing productivity and reducing support requests. The end-user training ensures that the target audience, mostly employees, are in sync with the company and its needs. End-user training can be completed by various means, but the most common way is to use interactive on-screen guidance or an equivalent of that learning method. A program may fail due to improper use, as proper training and past implementation support of users or reduce chances of having them entering invalid data that crash the program. The end-user training is one of the keys to the successful implementation of any software. It helps users to understand the features, the functions, and the benefits of the new software and to adopt it effectively in their daily work. So how do I identify user training needs? To identify user training needs, you need to identify organizational goals. That is, consider the goals of your organization, both on a macro and micro level. Then conduct a learning needs analysis. Determine what you want learners to take away from the training program. After that, collect data. Gather data about employees' current skills and competencies. You can use surveys and questionnaires to conduct qualitative data. From there, you need to set clear expectations. Define what success looks like for each role and what skills are required to achieve it. Then analyze that data. Look for patterns, trends, and areas that need training so that you can also compare current performance to desired performance. Then create personal development plans. Well-managed personal development plan can help identify training needs. Also, you need to conduct the competence analysis. Here, you compare the skills required for certain roles with the current skills of the employees. You also need to conduct interviews. This is because regular conversations with employees can provide valuable data about the understanding of their role and the performance. However, to perform software user training needs, you need to assess each employee's training needs. Identify which employees or teams need training, what training they need, and how to deliver it best. Then identify necessary skills. Review the role of the candidate and identify the skills that he or she needs to perform the job. Number 3, assess performance gaps. Identify skill gaps, such as lack of technical knowledge in software to help employees work more efficiently. Also, identify organizational goals. Compare the current performance of an employee's level or a team with a desired competency. Then develop a training plan by considering the following. Number one, the user needs and expectations. Number two, the training objectives and outcomes. Number three, the training methods and the formats. Number four, training content and structure. Number five, training evaluation and the feedback. Number six, training support and the follow-up. Once you have been able to identify the user or the employee's employment gaps or skill gaps, you can then choose the method that you want to use for the training. So which methods can you use for your program for user training? Some of the methods that can be used to train program or software users are face-to-face training. It involves bringing users together in a physical classroom. In this setting, they learn from a trainer in a controlled environment. This method is effective for small, medium-sized groups. It is useful if users are new to the system or have little experience with similar software. Number two is online or e-learning. It takes many forms, such as videos, courses or video courses, quizzes, and interactive webinars. The biggest advantage is that you can access these resources from anywhere within or with an internet connection. It is flexible. You can tailor it to fit different user needs. Users can learn at their own pace. They do not need to be available at specific times. You can also update online materials to provide the latest information. The third way of training is what we call self-service training. Here, it lets individuals manage their training and access resources and materials whenever needed. This approach usually includes learning tools like knowledge bases, tutorial videos, and documentation. Its main benefit is that it provides support right when users need it. The users don't have to wait for support tickets to be answered or for an instructor to be available. The other method of training is in-app or on-the-job adoption training. It teaches users directly within the application while they work. It uses product tours, interactive walkthroughs, tool tips, and contextual help built into the app. The digital adoption platforms, DAPs, allow IT technicians or IT teams yet engaging onboarding experiences without coding. They provide real-time contextual guidance based on each user's actions within the app. The other method of training is online training. A trainer spends time on site at the place of work providing thorough training. I repeat, on-site training, not online. There's a difference between online training and on-site training. So on-site training entails a trainer spending time on the site at the place of work while providing thorough training on the program or software as a whole or any defined area, spending time with each individual to ensure that they are comfortable with the full capabilities of the software. So the other one is online training. It provides users with one-to-one training in manageable chunks online. This option is often used to train new staff in specific processes or functions. It creates a cost-effective option for clients whilst ensuring that users still receive the essential training they need. The other method is user workshops. Informative sessions are organized for the staff to provide them with a chance to interact with other users whilst developing their knowledge of the software program. So what are some of the factors to consider when choosing a training method? When choosing a training method, you can consider the following factors. Number one is user needs and expectations. Assess the skills, knowledge, and attitudes, the learning styles and expectations of your users. Software complexity, functionality, and usability. Consider how these factors may impact the training method that we're going to choose. User availability, accessibility, and the preferences. Consider how these factors may impact the training method you choose. You may need to use a combination of methods to suit different user groups and learning outcomes. It's also important to evaluate the effectiveness of your training and support program and to make improvements based on user feedback and performance. The 5 keys to successful software or program and user training implementation are: 1, setting training goals. 2 is assessing end user needs. That is, evaluate the technical skill or levels of those who will actually use the software on a daily basis. Number 3 is select the appropriate user training delivery methods. Number 4 is creating a training program. Tailor your program to your own organization's use of the software rather than generic lessons. Number 5 is to make your training program scalable. Being flexible enough to accommodate both small numbers of users, for example, when new employees join the company and need to be trained on the software in large numbers, as is necessary in an organization-wide rollout of a new product. So what is the procedure that we're supposed to adhere to when you're administering user training? In order for a programmer to administer effective training, he or she needs to adhere to the following training steps. Number 1 is to assess learning requirements. Knowing what skill gaps need to be filled to create a smooth transition for your staff to the new system can mean the difference between success and failure. It's crucial to find out the technical level of the people having to use the system every day and fit training needs on this. Number 2 is to develop a tailored training plan. Start with the end in mind. Be clear about what the business outcomes are from the training. For instance, that everybody uses the same document management system and what the employee will gain from it. A system is only as good as the people who use it. Scalable training methods are great because they allow you to use the same method to train a small number of people for a new onboardings, as well as apply to a company-wide rollout of new software. Number 3 is secure resources. Know your budget and time schedule. Don't forget practical parts of the new system, such as the right access to your employees. Also, your employees can learn the new system without any roadblocks in their way. Begin on a solid footing, with implementation viewed as a high priority. You may need your supervisor and higher management to drive the project from the outset. Number 4 is to ask for feedback. It is important to ask for feedback from your end users during the training so that the training can be modified if needed instead of waiting until the end. Knowing what areas users don't feel adequately trained on will help mitigate the risk of implementation failing later on. So what is the checklist? What are some of the things that you must check so that you can be sure that you administer user training effectively? So the following elements need to be looked into and checked carefully during end user training, or what we call end user training checklist. Number 1 is the definition for the need for change. Explain the why of the project clearly from the start to help gain buy-in from your staff and to build enthusiasm for the implementation. Number 2, have an endorsed version. Make it clear why the change is necessary and what happens if you don't change the system. Number 3, be clear on the budget, resources required, and time schedule. Number 4, develop a tailored plan early that helps the programmer to be clear about what the organization expects from the training and what is innate for the employees. Number 5, ask for feedback. Knowing what areas users don't feel adequately trained on will help mitigate the risk of implementation failing later on. Number 6, start training your end users the right way. So end user training is essential because it helps improve the overall productivity of your employees or users. As all the end users work in sync, the productivity rates increase quicker. It adds value to your organization as a whole. All users being inside helps you build a better profile and get results easier. It improves accuracy levels. As all end users are well trained, they bring value quicker, which benefits both you and them. Thus, the accuracy levels tend to improve more quickly. Number 4, ask for feedback. It is important to ask for feedback from the end users during the training so that the training can be modified if needed, instead of waiting until the end. Knowing what areas users don't feel adequately trained on will help mitigate the risk and session building later on. So what are some of the user training manuals that you need to develop? Training manuals are important because they help all employees remain efficient and productive in the course of doing their jobs and are critical content pieces for customer education, training, and most importantly, satisfaction. Simply, training manuals are help content. A training manual is therefore a set of instructions that improve the quality with which a job, process, or task is performed. Companies use training manuals with in-person, remote, on-demand, and just-in-time training. Some common applications for training manuals include onboarding new employees, rolling out new software and systems, new protocol or process documentation, sharing standard operating procedures, customer training and education, product instructions and information. The training manuals or best training manuals are easy to follow, information guides. They lay out concepts in clear language using relevant examples and imagery to reduce errors. Done right, a good training manual becomes a trusted resource for employees and managers or customers. The following are therefore some types of training manuals that can be developed by the programmer to help various users of the program. Number 1 is employee training manuals. Their main purpose is to ensure that every employee has a clear understanding of their role, know what is expected of them, and understand how they fit into the company's framework. This documentation can be in form of employee handbook, training videos, and manuals. By having a well-structured employee training manual, organizations can ensure consistency in training while reducing the learning curve for employees onboarding and increasing overall productivity for team members. The second type, or the second one, is project manuals. These manuals are crafted to provide a clear roadmap for a project's life cycle from start to finish. It outlines the objectives, the milestones, roles, and responsibilities. They help keep teams on track, ensuring that everyone works towards the same goal with a clear direction and a purpose. The third type is the task manuals. They provide step-by-step instructions on how to perform a particular task to help ensure that it's done correctly and efficiently every time. These manuals are particularly useful where precision and consistency are important. They serve as valuable resource should a staff member need reminding on how to complete a task without the need to interrupt colleagues. The fourth type are the vendor training manuals. These manuals provide vendors with the insights into the company's policies, codes of conduct, and any specific process or systems they need to be familiar with. They help streamline communication, set clear expectations, and ensure that the vendors can work seamlessly with the internal team. The fifth type, or the other type, is vendor training manuals. We have said that these ones mostly provide vendors insights to the company's policies, and they help streamline communication, set clear expectations, and ensure that the vendors are able to work with the team in the organization. So, how do you write user training manual? The following is the process of writing the training manual. Step number 1 is to find your software. The first thing you need to do is to find the right software. There are a lot of options out there, and your decision will likely hinge on the kind of training manual you are putting together. Number two is define your audience. You need to understand who it is you are writing for that or you want to train. To do this, try picturing when, where, and how people will access your training materials or talk to the users. Find out what types of content they would prefer to use, on which content types would help them solve their problems, or which content types would help them solve their problems. After all, customer education content is only helpful if the customers are utilizing it. With an understanding of things like your audience's skill level, their context, and their content preferences, you can create content that caters their needs and expectations. Step number 3 is to plan your content. A great training manual is easy to navigate. Someone encountering it for the first time should feel comfortable discovering the information they need, and a returning user should be able to quickly find specific information. You can make sure this is the case for your training manual by strategically planning your content. Simply put, this means laying out all of your training material and organizing it logically. This can be a quick process for short, one-off training content, but it might take some more time if you are creating a comprehensive guide. Step number 4 is to determine the presentation format. Decide how you will present the content. Take some time to think about both your audience and your content. There are, for example, several different ways to deliver your training content, including knowledge-based articles, video tutorials, online courses, PDF guides, printed guidebooks, and pamphlets. You can thus combine different formats to provide rich, media-supported content. The 5th step is to develop your content. Put your training materials together. If you are creating videos for your training manual, this is when you can start storyboarding, scripting, recording, and editing videos. Step number 6 is to assemble and deliver your manual. This is the process of adding images to a training manual, template, document, or other source that can present several issues with things like formatting, image sizing, and file types. This is great because you can cover each process or task individually to create separate sections of the manual. Then you can save each one as PDF or an image for sharing and compile them into a complete guide. Step number 7 is to track feedback and keep your content updated. Welcome feedback on your manuals to measure their effectiveness and update them accordingly. Start with a baseline and track how it changes. The most important thing to keep in mind as you create is to focus on your audience's expectations and deliver informative content that is easily understood by them. So, what are some of the practices that can lead to successful end user training? The following are some best practices that you can embrace for successful end user training. Number 1 is strategic alignment between business outcomes and end user training. Identify the business outcomes you hope to achieve through end user training initiatives. What goals do you hope the training will help you achieve? What end user groups or types are direct stakeholders in achieving this goal? Number 2 is the needs assessment for technology training. Conduct a thorough assessment for the training needs specific to your technology implementation. Understanding the gaps in knowledge and skill among your workforce allows for creating target training programs that directly address these deficiencies. Number 3, create contextual end user training for different roles. Contextual learning embeds the knowledge within the learner's natural workflow, enabling better learning and retention and helping overcome the forgetting curve. Contextual training is personalized for different roles and it provides end users with the information they need right when it matters most. Number 4 is leverage in-app training technology. In-app training enables end users with interactive contextual assistance and support through a combination of in-app elements. It may include interactive walkthroughs, tooltips, checklists, self-help wikis, and other elements that help to educate users on production or on the product functionality, drive engagement, provide contextual assistance, achieve product adoption. Number 5 is communication plan. It provides outlines, objectives, and roadmaps for adopting new technology or learning new skills. It helps get key team members on board and can contribute to creating training champions that will keep morale high and end users motivated. The 61 is most of need support and help resources. Provide users with access to support and resources exactly when they need it to prevent them from falling back or falling behind on their training programs due to confusion or lack of assistance. This type of support is designed to provide efficient and intuitive support experiences that enable end users with a frictionless path to overcoming application-related support issues. The 7th one is end user feedback mechanism. By actively seeking user feedback through surveys, open-ended questions and polls, and interacting or iterating based on it, programmers can significantly enhance user adoption. The 8th one is having continuous end user reinforcement training. Continuous training reinforces lessons and processes so end users continue to get the most value of products and services. Providing reminders, tips, or refresher training help ensure users don't forget important steps or information as they become more comfortable with new systems and processes. Number 9 is evaluation and adaptation. End user training programs must go through cycles of evaluation and adaptation. Look for areas of improvement or opportunities to make the training programs stronger. Continue to make changes to better align with the end user business needs. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the listeners, we have come to the end of part 8, as well as the end of the 8-part series of tutorials in Fundamentals of Developing Computer Program. Thank you very much for listening to me, and you can proceed with this basis and listen to Fundamentals of Structured Programming in C, as well as Fundamentals of Object-Oriented Programming in Java. Congratulations for learning part 8 of 8 on performing user training in Fundamentals of Developing Computer Program. You can access the rest of the parts in the series, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on the Meliswap ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on the subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email meliswap@gmail.com. Thank you, be blessed, and be a wonderful programmer.